This episode is sponsored by Rat Majesty. He wants you to be a pervert forever. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine, where you can go to sign up and support the show, read zines, get music sneak peeks, and so much more. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. Today, I'm sharing with you the song Heartless by Sandcrawler, featuring my pal Jeremy McGuire on drums. The song comes from their new EP, Unsafe House, which you can pre-order now on Salvaged Records.
When I was younger, I was always super into music. My mom was constantly playing music all the time. She grew up going to see like Led Zeppelin and the Stones and stuff in Atlanta where she grew up, and so she was always playing that classic rock stuff. Or I'm a '90s kid, so '90s country as well. So a lot of Leanne Rimes and Garth Brooks around the house. I had an older brother who listened to music as well. The more alternative stuff. He was. I kind of have a distinct memory of him having a Kid Rock CD in his car. He's significantly older than me. He's about like a decade older than me. And I looked down on it and I was like, "Oh my god, that's the middle finger on that CD. Oh my god." and, and being really shocked by that. um which was super fun. But like, anyways, so music was always around. I was always around it, or it was always in my life. But I never really, uh, I guess, I never really took it as something of my own until I don't know. I had to be 12, 13 years old, and my cousin was visiting me down where I lived in South Georgia, and I had heard about this show happening that some friends or something were playing like a little show. I'm from a small town that basically had never even had a proper venue, at least not one that lasted any amount of time. So we would constantly they would do shows at like they would rent buildings from like the local city or like parks or whatever. And so like I heard some friends had rented this little building and they were going to do a show there, and I was like, oh, I mean, I like music. I'll go check this out. And it was just this. I'm pretty sure it was a metalcore show because that was definitely the height of this is early to mid 2000s. It's metalcore and pop punk are just really hitting their stride in terms of like popularity. Blink 182's on the TV and all that stuff. And so I go to this local metalcore show, and it really truly blew me away in terms of like it changed my life in terms of like, oh, this is something that like I could create, and this is something that people I know make, and this is also something that like you don't see. Like my mom would never know what this is, and it really changed how I view music, and it really changed how I looked at the world, I guess. And but like really to go into it a little bit more, like I never thought I would actually play music. So I didn't pick up the drums until I was 15, and even at that point I was so bad at it. I just truly thought, oh, I'm just gonna bang these, or whatever. And my family didn't have money for lessons. I didn't know anyone that played drums, so I couldn't ask them. I just kind of messed around with it, and it wasn't until like I was in my 20s that I thought, oh, maybe I can be in a band. I was always booking shows, or I was always going to shows, and I was always like seeing bands and stuff like that, but I never thought I'd be able to actually play music just because I didn't think I had the talent. And it really wasn't until I was in my 20s that that kind of changed for me. I really just like, oh, just give it a real shot, and then from there on, I've been hit the ground running.
Yeah. So like what happened when you were 20? Like now, like you got the confidence. You're like okay, I'm ready to give it a shot. But like so when you first go over to that friend's house or to that warehouse or wherever it was where you're going to like try out for a band or whatever the situation was for the first time, like did you like were you like what was my problem? Like I get this. I know what I'm like I can do this. Or was it more of a learning thing?
I in that time of like, so okay, so after high school I moved to Atlanta, and I went to school there for a year, and I really loved it, and it introduced me. That's when I got introduced to more like proper, I guess, more traditional hardcore music and more traditional punk music. Because like I said, growing up, truly the things that dominated my local town of Brunswick's music scene was metalcore and pop punk. So it really, I started to broaden my horizons. And I say all this, but also one of the biggest bands from my area, I also really loved, I just didn't understand what they were, was Circle Takes a Square.
Right.
So Circle Takes a Square from Savannah, but their bassist, who is now a really close friend of mine, Kathleen, she lives in Brunswick now. So that band was around, and I just didn't understand didn't understand what they were at the time, which is so funny now.
I was also
But
around
anyways,
Kathleen a lot when I was a
oh, there you
teenager.
go.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that. I mean,
We
so
went to
I
high
think
school
actually
together.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Little side story. I discovered your podcast because you interviewed her.
Yeah.
So because she shared it, and I was like, oh, what's this? I'll take a listen to it. And that's when I first heard of this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
um,
But yeah, we went to high
that's
school
really funny.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, I met her through her husband Anthony, because I worked with him, and he was like, oh, my wife's in a band too. And I was like, what band? And he's like, Circle Takes a Square. I was like, holy crap, okay, very cool.
Yeah.
uh,
Long story short on
um,
that, I did not know. I was listening to Circle Takes the Square for like years, did not know that she was the person that played bass and did
oh, that's
vocals and that.
hilarious.
And then she just messaged me out of the blue, "Hey bud, you remember me? Like, are you still playing in bands?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Do you want to play with my band when we come on tour?" And I was like, "I would love to. What band is that?" And it's Circle Takes the Square. And I'm like, "You got to be fucking kidding me."
You gotta be fucking kidding
Yeah,
me.
but it was. It was awesome.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so cut back to college, right? So my music horizon, my music like taste has just broadened significantly. I'm listening to a bunch of different stuff I never thought I never knew about in high school when I was originally playing drums. And so I moved to Valdosta to go to a different school. And so that's in South Georgia for anyone who doesn't know. And I moved there to go to a different school, and I didn't know anyone. And I really was like, okay, I need to meet people. This is a small town. I'm going to go to shows. I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check out if anybody's looking for a band, because like I have a drum set. I haven't played it in 2 years, but I have one. Maybe I can find something that they would be willing to let me learn and play with them. And I did. And it was this band we were called Adverse, and it was kind of like a hardcore punk band. And so that was my first real band. I was probably 19. I would say 19, and I got kicked out of that band.
Oh no. For like they're just like you're not quite there yet, or
I don't. They never really told me the real reason. I'm still friends with a couple of them, which is funny. I think it was. I mean, I wasn't very good. That is true. But like, I think it was definitely like they found a better drummer who was maybe a closer friend, and so I got kicked out of that band. But honestly, this is one of the best things that ever happened to me, because at that point I had the bug, and I was like, I really want to play music. I am now like I want to get better. I want to play. And so I was like, I'm going to make my own band, because now I have this, I'm more in the scene here, and I know more people. And so I ended up stealing a guitarist from Adverse, and got a couple of other friends of mine, and we created my first, like, I mean, honestly, my longest lasting band, the band that changed my life, was Machinist. That was the band I was in for
almost 10
long time.
years or longer than 10 years.
Over 10 years,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we broke up last year, and so I'm, it's closer to 15 than 10. I mean, truly, we were in that band for a long time, and
Okay. Well, the first
um
release on Bandcamp was 2016, so that's why I
yeah,
was
we
going
we
off of.
we didn't record for a while, so
Sure.
I would probably say at least a couple years before that, like 2 years before that. But yeah, we had been a band for like probably 12 years. I'm throwing that number out there, but
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, it was I mean, that band ended up, really, like I said, really changed my life. I toured the country like dozens of times, corner to corner, put out records with my best friends, and really, that's when it all really clicked for me. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, so I think your question was like, what changed? And I really just think it was just my attitude. I was like, I don't care that I'm bad. I don't care um that I've never done this before. I'm just gonna take a chance, and I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's all it is. Like I've said this a number of times, but the fastest way to get good at something is playing with other people. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't have a lot of opportunities to actually do that anymore, so I probably like I'm terrible. But but like like when you're like, okay, I'm competent, I could probably do this, and then you start actually playing with other people, and you just like everything just starts clicking. Like,
Yeah.
your stamina, your innate senses of like rhythm and timing and stuff. It's just like everything starts clicking. But
And to expand on that point, I've been in a number of bands since then, and every time I start a new project or I jam with other people, I feel like my skill level increase.
yeah,
I feel like I'm gaining experience points, because it's like I'm playing, even if it's something close to the same genre, it's like it's different enough because it's a different person playing guitar, or I played guitar in one band and bass in another band as well, and like but like playing, like my current band is so different, even though it's heavy. My current band, Sandcrawler, even though it's a heavy thing, the guitarist writes riffs that are unlike any other guitarist I've ever played with. So like I feel like I'm being more creative, and it's pushing me. So it's like literally like every time I play with someone new, I feel like I've gained another level.
yeah. And let me ask you a question, because like I sort of I don't talk with people that are primarily drummers too much, but when I do, I've asked this question a couple of times, and the answers kind of vary, which is interesting. But like, what you're obviously, as a drummer, so the guitars are coming to you, you're getting the vibe, you're like, this is this kind of thing, and it's known for like this array of beats, and it could be any, like, you
Hmm.
could obviously throw any beat over anything and you could
Hmm.
make it work if you were looking to do that. But like, as far as like, okay, so I'm mostly going to be playing these types of beats, this fits this style, etc. But like, as far as the way you accent things, the kinds of fills that you use, like, does this thing change from, a band leg biter where it's like, basically like South Florida punk kind of pop punk kind of stuff
Uh-huh.
to Sandcrawler? Like, are you like, no, that is not the kind of fill that goes in Sandcrawler. That's a, you know, or is it just like you're 100% just like, I'm here, I'm feeling it, and what comes comes? Or do you like,
Um,
is there more thought?
it's not so. I mean, I don't go into it with any thoughts. So
Hmm.
I try not to have any preconceived notions with what I'm going to play until we are in it, I guess. Until it is like, well, that's not preconceived. So like, I try not to bring anything to the table when I'm first starting like something new or whatever, just to see what comes out. And then once that has taken its shape and the band has kind of found its sound, that's the point. I'll be like, okay, this feels more like a sports reference drum part, or this feels more like a machinist drum part. But until then, sometimes they all kind of sound the same. Like
Hmm.
sometimes it's very similar because I'm not the technically best drummer. I like to think of myself as a very solid and a very like flexible drummer, but like I'm not doing anything intrinsically different in these bands. I'm kind of just playing how I play, and
Hmm.
then it's kind of I'm kind of just massaging it to make it work for whatever style that is.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that I'm definitely don't look at something and go, well, this is not a Sandcrawler rhythm. Because honestly, it's funny with Sandcrawler, we're kind of because we're a mishmash with all four of us coming from different backgrounds, it's really anything goes in that band, which is super fun.
Hmm.
Because it's like there are no rules. We're just kind of like, okay, this is kind of like a softer screamo-y kind of thing, but this is a big breakdown, or this is like more of a groove part. It's kind of all over the place, which is why I think as far as playing drums, Sandcrawler is the band that I enjoy writing the most for because it feels very like anything is on the table and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though, like, you know, um, I'm not sure what the guitars are tuned to there, but the thing that I find about like the lower tuned guitars is like you can make all this stuff for some reason when it's just like you're down in these like lower tunings or whatever, you can just make all this stuff sound more cohesive. Like
Right.
it's like a borderline cheat code for like doing that as opposed to
Yeah, I'm
like,
not. I was gonna say I'm not sure what tuning we're in either, but I know Rob plays a baritone guitar, so it's definitely a
yeah,
very low
yeah,
tuning.
yeah. And it's just like, yeah, there's, I mean, it's like, you know, like I've often been like, yeah, I want a baritone because I want to write like, I want to write like indie rock with it, but I want the drums to be like
Hmm.
heavy as fuck. So like,
Yes,
you
that's the
you won't
perfect.
know what like you could put two different vocalists on it and it would be two different genres of music because like it the guitar at that tuning can be that versatile, but
Yeah, there's a flexibility and a versatility to it, which is why I think Sandcrawler can, like I was saying, can write what we write because it's like you were saying, it just kind of like everything kind of works
yeah,
in
yeah.
that lower register, and it's really cool.
Yeah, you can move more freely and just it's like, oh, that does not seem weird at all. Like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a way that's like, you know, not it's like weird in a good way. But
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Um yeah, it's the reason why I asked that question is I definitely have had instances where like um I was like, "Oh, like I this is more like for a specific album, but it was like, oh, this is a different project than or whatever. But it's like I've been like, okay, I want to play differently in this because like I want to see if I can. So like
Sure, sure,
I'll
sure,
just
sure.
be like, no, there's like no like my left hand has to move as much as it can. Like that'll be like a rule or something, right?
Sure.
So it's like even if it's slow, if it's like a doon doon da da doon doon, it's not gonna be doon doon da da. It's gonna be doon da 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 da. You
Oh,
know what
sure,
I
sure,
mean?
sure. I get what
Like
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. I've always like been interested to see if other people make like it seems like drummers are always just like No, you just got to feel it out and like what's best for what's
It's literally,
best.
I literally was gonna say it's like that's how I approach songwriting. Is like you just gotta feel it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's
And
like there's no. I don't put as much thought into it. It's really, really about feeling, and it's like I feel it, and I'll feel it be wrong. Like I'll feel it be really wrong. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's like it's truly about the feeling more than anything.
yeah. Do you but that's my other thing. Do you ever feel like that doesn't feel right? But you say, "Hey, hold on. Like,
Oh yeah.
let's be weird
I
about
mean,
this."
Y- Yeah, so like okay, I mean just for example, I was literally at band practice last night and we're kind of writing some new material. And there's this like kind of slower intro and I was like, I want to try something a little bit different here. I want to try something whatever because what I was playing, I was like it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel good. So I was like I'm going to try some like weird tom thing and I'm going to try this because it's like I just got to try a bunch of stuff until it feels right. And
Mhm.
so that's currently where that song is headed. And I was like, all right, now I think that the intro is going to be kind of a tom heavy intro for me, which I don't do a ton because I'm more cymbal forward than tom forward, and I know different drummers play differently, but so I was like, but this song feels like it could be like this cool like I don't want to use the word like like a rhythm based tom thing, you know what I
Sure.
mean? It just felt right, and so like I really wanted to like explore that and see where that path led.
Yeah. My problem with like Tom stuff is like I feel like I can only do like three or four things and I'm
I mean,
and I'm like,
yeah, same.
yeah, it's like, have I already done that in something else? And then it's like you gotta as like as a musician of any renown, like short of like your Trent Reznor or something, you gotta like this is just a free piece of advice. Like n- nobody listens to every single one of your fucking albums, not even your best
No,
friend,
they do
right?
not.
So if
No, they
you
do
like
not.
kind of did that drum fill before, like don't fucking worry about it. Just,
Yeah, I,
did
I
you do
literally,
that?
I was,
Like, right. It's like, did you do that on this project on the last album? Yes, then skip it. But if not, if it was two albums ago and it was a different project, like just fucking do it again. Who cares?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll even take that a little bit further. Like, I've written kind of drum parts for one band, and then been like, "Ooh, I really like the way that plays," and I'll just put it into a different band. But
Just
because
throw
it's a
it in there.
different band, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's like it like no one will notice because it's like a lot of times my bands sound pretty different, so it's like the fans of the heavy stuff maybe not listening to the lighter stuff. So it's like they're not. No one's gonna notice. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of times there's like check out the way this feels so different. It's the exact same thing, but it feels so different.
Yes,
And
yes.
and
That is super fun to see how that applies. It's like
yeah.
I'm basically playing the same thing, but it feels completely different because of what's on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, I I've said this before, and I feel like sometimes the downside of having a podcast with 280 plus episodes now is like I've told on myself so much, and I sometimes I wish I didn't, but at the same time it's like I don't fucking care.
I mean,
But it's like
yeah,
sometimes you get almost all the way there with something, whether it's guitar or drums or whatever. You get almost all the way there, and you think you're there, and you lay it down and you're like, that's awesome, and you go on with your business, and then years later you're like, well, that thing that I didn't take it as far as it could go, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm gonna see if I can take it further, and maybe
yeah,
people will
yep,
notice that it's kind of the same, and maybe people won't. But that's goes back to what I was saying. Like, you got to just be like, you're not that important. Like nobody
I mean,
is,
I mean, absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
truly. But on the other hand, is like you're not that important and you can't take yourself that seriously. But also, like you are a person. Everything that you do is built on what you have done in the past. There is no like,
sure, yeah,
especially with drums. Like drums are a rhythm instrument. It's not like we're creating new chords or something. You know what I mean? It's like, especially in heavier stuff, it's like, well, this is just a punk beat. But yeah, it's a punk beat, but it's done in a. It's like maybe I'm doing it in a little bit of a better way this time, or maybe I'm doing it a little bit like I'm adding a couple little extra, like whatever on top of it, but it's at its core, it's still a punk beat. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's like, so everything I do and everything I've ever done is built on the stuff that I did in the past. So like, yeah, I'm doing the same shit, but like I'm doing it because that's what I do. I don't even know how to explain that.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
who cares? Like as long as it feels good, as long as it sounds good, like that is. I mean, I try not to think about it too much because honestly, when I start overthinking, that's when I fuck up. Like
oh yeah,
like if I'm like when I'm writing something, if I'm all of a sudden like, oh, maybe I'll try this, then I can't remember what I'm doing. Then I can't remember where I'm going. It's like it literally has to just be so intrinsically how it feels for the for 80% of the creation, and then the last 20% is when I try to get a little bit more like specific.
yeah,
Because it's like otherwise I'll just fuck it all up and it'll just be trash.
yeah, yeah. It's like you said, you like you'll get there and then you try to be specific, and sometimes like for me, it's the other way around where I have a I have a an idea that is more um, theoretical or or comes from math or something, where it's like,
Sure.
oh, what if
Sure.
you like did like y'all, you're always doing these things these numbers of times, like for instance, right? So what if you specifically said, I'll do this beat like this many times and switch to this, and so you make this, and then like what happens for me there later is I come the other way with it, which is like I started from this place of like I'm doing this just as an exercise to see if this works, to then like something that felt way more natural than it was in its conception came out of it, which is like
Sure.
that's that's like a whole different like
Yeah, absolutely.
that's
It's very different, but yeah.
yeah, that's when you start thinking you're like, Phil Collins in the early Genesis days or something, but you're like, yeah, but you're like you Temu, Phil Collins, but yeah, it's I don't know, I love that it can go either way like that, and I love um, but I totally get what you're saying, where it's like when you get in your head about it, like you do, like I, whenever I used to, uh, in Plague Walker, and I'd be just like playing the song, like I would
Yeah.
be just like, I would just be thinking like about like some laundry I had to do. Like I'd be thinking the most random things. When I actually started thinking about the song, it's like you said, that's when I'd start fucking, like I'd be like, oh,
That's when I fuck up
yeah, yeah.
every time.
When it was just like natural and I was just doing it and I was just having a great time. Like it was like, yeah, this is what's up. And then it was like, oh, where am I? And you're just like, oh shit.
Oh shit. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. It's so silly, but I don't know. It's a great time. Um,
Hmm.
so like Machinist, really like that was like you're opening up to the like wild wide world of like touring and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
all that, but you did say that that's when you started putting out records as well. Like what
Yes.
was the catalyst for you to be like, yeah, that's something I'm gonna do as well?
I mean, so okay, so get kicked out of Adverse, shitty feeling because it's not only my first kind of real band, it's the first time I've been kicked out of a band. So I was like, well, that sucks. So I was like, we formed Machinist, and we're all kind of not very good, but we are having fun, and it's a good time. And that we recruited my friend Jeff to do vocals, and Jeff had been in a band previous that I really liked. They were more of a kind of like a proggy metal band called This Hideous Strength, and they were really good. I did some tour, and so I did some touring with them as their merch guy, and that was my first kind of experience of being on the road. Nothing, anything crazy, be out a couple days or whatever. But I was just like, this is this is something special, and seeing them every night, seeing the fun they had, I was like, I want that. And so Machinist starts up, and very quickly we are touring. We don't have any music out at all, and we're touring. Like literally, like we are just like, we're gonna book a 7-day run in Florida. I've never been to most of these places. You know what I mean? Like I had done some traveling, but was very broke, so very very little traveling. And so we were like, okay, well, Florida will be easy because everything's within 2 hours of each other, an hour of each other, but you can play 11 different places and they all have very distinct scenes. And so it's like, so we did a run through Florida, and that's when it all kind of really clicked for me. I was like, I want this, and I want this more than anything. And so what is the next step? What makes sense? Like, what would help us tour? And I was like, well, we got to record some music. So we recorded one song for a Valdosta area compilation. And so there's like 6 bands, and the only 2 bands that really survived more than a year or two were us and this band Dying Whale. And Dying Whale, their main guy Matt Zagorski ended up joining Machinist later as well. So like we kind of took him too. But anyway, so we recorded this one song. It's literally, it's like you can only kind of find it on this 7-inch, and then we ended up putting it on digitally somewhere. But like we toured to Oklahoma on one song, and so it was just like at a certain point we kind of felt it was a little silly to be touring and not have any music.
Yeah. You're
Like
just
we were
selling
selling
shirts?
t-shirts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, selling shirts or selling patches, and we were very much hand screen printing all our shirts. So we would buy like mesh material and hoops, that embroidery hoops, and we would Mod Podge, the negative of whatever design we wanted, and then we would go to Goodwill while we were on the road and buy blank t-shirts and then just screen print them ourselves while we were on the road, and just to make enough money to get to the next place or whatever. And we were just doing everything ourselves because none of us had any money and none of us had any real experience. And so we were just doing it. And I learned a lot of lessons doing it that way, that I have been able to like help out other bands with, like, hey, like you can do these things yourself, and if you want to, that's fine. But like it truly, if you can, maybe put your money here because it'll help you do this or what. Anyways, so Machinist is just like throwing ourselves as hard as we can, just because we love touring, we love traveling, and finally we decide to record an EP, and we talked to I don't even remember how it happened. Maybe they had signed someone else that we knew. I don't know. There's a label called Speedo Wax, and they're based in England. And they agreed to put that record out for us on a 7-inch, and that was really cool. And that's kind of what I could be getting the orders a little bit different, but like we put that 7-inch out with them, and then they also put out our next 7-inch. And then from that point on, we were like, that's when we were like, we're touring like every 2 months, we're out on the road. And it was just a really incredible feeling. And like, I look back on that time, like where I was touring so fucking much, as like one of the best times in my life. And it's something I wish I could do more now. But unfortunately, like, like a lot of people, as you get older, you get a few more, things holding you down. Including, for the first time in my life, I have a job currently that I actually like, which is surreal.
Yeah.
Like a job that I don't want to quit to go on tour. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, literally every other job I've ever had, I've been like, I would quit this job in a heartbeat if I could go on tour. And I did. I quit many jobs, but I work as a shop manager for a tattoo shop, and I love it so much. And so I'm like, well, I can tour, but it's a lot less. It's like, so the last real proper tour I did was a couple years ago. Machinist did a West Coast run in 2022, I want to say, where we like flew out to Portland and then like did like up and down the West Coast and came back, and it was a super fun tour. But that's kind of the last proper real tour I did.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one of the reasons we ended up breaking up, because we weren't touring and doing what we wanted. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, like
It gets harder when I mean, just like I don't know. I I think that a lot of people think like you, that bands stop touring as much when they get older because like they are older, and I think that's usually not actually the thing. It's just like when you're when you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, um I can't just like quit my job, or I can't just like um I can't just like not make a rent payment and crash
Right.
with my friends for 2 months. Like, you know what I mean?
Which I
Like,
have done.
yeah, exactly.
You
Like when
know?
you're like when I'm younger, and it was just like we're gonna go on tour, and it's like, well, what happens if we don't have the rent when we come back? It's like, fuck, who cares? Like we'll figure it
Yeah,
out. But like,
we'll figure it out. We'll
yeah.
whatever.
Then later
Yeah.
you're like your mom's like, no, you're not moving back in. You're like, oh, okay, all right then. uh but yeah, so like you have this label that's putting out like your records and stuff. What made you want to put out records? Like what made you want to put out records for other bands and stuff like that? Did you just see
Well,
like you're like, other people need this kind of help, I'm gonna be that person"?
I think a lot of it stems from kind of what I was saying, something like this earlier, where for a long time, I didn't think I would be in a band. I was always, I like, and not like in a self defeating way. I just like was like, you know what, but that's okay because I'll start a record label one day, or I'll, do this and do that. So I've always loved being a person behind the scenes in terms of the music like world and helping people do stuff. And so, I kind of had a small little like bedroom tape operation where I was like hand duplicating tapes for a while, and I did that for it was under a different name, but like basically I think when COVID happened and I kind of restructured my life and all that stuff, like a lot of people did, of course, I put that little thing to the side and I was like, I'm going to start this new label, new name, new focus, and do it like a little bit more, quote, professionally, quote. And like, instead of duplicating tapes myself with my shitty little tape duplicator that doesn't sound very good, I'm going to actually get them professionally duplicated. And I'm going to do it on these really nice looking tapes and get like proper J cards made and blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to hopefully eventually do vinyl. And so like, I had always wanted to do a real label and put something out on vinyl, and like that was a huge dream. And honestly, one of the people that inspired me to finally pull the trigger was Kathleen, because she runs their label.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gatepost Recordings, I think is what the name of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
when I was like I would be home back in my hometown and we like hanging out with them, and I would help them, package up the records that they just like. I think they had just done a like a repressing of As the Roots Undo or something like that, and like I got to go over and like package everything up in their living room, and I was like, "This, you can do this. You could just be be a little DIY thing, and like, but be professional and have like good quality products." But I'm still doing it myself. It's really all me kind of behind everything, and so that's where Salvaged Records came from, and I wanted to work with a lot of Gainesville bands, but not just Gainesville bands. So like my first release was one of my favorite Gainesville bands called Super Twin. I helped them release a record. I did it on cassette, but I also just helped them. Like I was like, hey, here's how you like put it up this way, and here you can get it in front of some people in this direction or whatever. And then it just from there, it just kept going. And I have a lot of connections from all the touring and booking shows and playing shows that I've done. So I just started reaching out to smaller bands that I was like, hey, I saw that this record had never been put out on physical media. I would love to do that for you. And so that's where the whole label kind of like got the ball rolling. And now I'm working mostly with like, I don't do a lot of like older records. I do mostly new stuff, but I'll still do older records on occasion. Like last year, I got to help out with a couple other labels put out this record from a band called Osceola.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was like a compilation record of theirs. And so that was really cool. Because the other labels reached out to me and they're like, hey, we'd love to get some extra help with this. And I was like, that was my first collaboration with the label. Anyways, all that to answer your question is just like, I love helping people if I can. And that's just an intrinsic part of who I am. I get that satisfactory good feeling of when I can help. And so it just makes me feel good and I want to help. And this is just a way I can do that.
Would I begin to live again? If I could change the way I am, and my friends wonder where I've been. I'm wearing thin, oh yeah, every day, and I just keep getting older all the time. You know, so long. What should you do when you're dead in the water? Dead in the water. And where should you go when the lights have been turned off? Lights have been turned off.
And when you were talking about like you were going to lots of shows, or you never thought you were going to be in a band, now like photography is a big part of your like life, and you know, a big
Yeah.
like form of expression for you now. Was it then as well? And were you like sort of the person who like, I'm the guy that like takes the band pictures at the shows, like even when you were like before you were in bands and stuff like that, or did that also come sort of later?
So that was later. That really my favorite. My favorite story of that is like a little backstory. Is I don't drink. I used to claim that I was straight edge, and now it's more just like I'm sober. I don't drink. I don't do anything like that. But like I've just moved away from the straight edge label. But like I I just the joke I always make is I was at shows and I was starting to get a little older and maybe not getting as rowdy in the crowd anymore. But I was like, what do I do with my hands? I feel so weird just standing here.
Yeah.
Like, like, I'm not getting in the pit and I'm not like, whatever, but I'm also not like going to stand at the very front and get crushed. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I was like, my then partner, was a professional photographer. I don't know I don't remember how long ago this was, maybe 10 years ago. And, she had a camera and I was like, hey, can I just borrow this and just see what's going on? Because when I was a kid, I definitely was always attracted to photography. We didn't have the money. I like I said, I
Yeah.
came from very, very much a broke family. And so I never had a camera really as a kid. And so this was my first real experience with like a real digital camera. And I fell in love with it immediately. And my other joke is I always was like, oh yeah, let me learn photography in maybe the hardest way possible, because your subject is always moving in dark lighting.
Yeah.
There's a crowd bumping into you. Like, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like, it's arguably one of the hardest ways to learn photography. And that's why I think I fell in love with it so much, because I loved the challenge of it. And I definitely look back at my older photos and I'm like, wow, these are awful. But, it also fell into that I like to help out people. And so like, there's a lot of local bands that don't get any photos done unless I'm there taking their photo. And so it's
Yeah.
really nice to be able to provide that as a service. And it's like most of the time I'm doing it for free or for like some sort of guest spot, maybe. So it's not like I'm making a lot of money off of it, at least in terms of like the smaller stuff. At this point, I consider myself a semi-professional photographer, because it's like half the time I'm like, I work at the tattoo shop part-time, and then I do photography on the side for other money. But but I'm still going to the shows and shooting them for free. I don't usually charge bands, at least, like smaller bands anyways.
Yeah. It's
I don't want to take advantage. I don't want to take advantage of anyone.
yeah, it's such a weird thing, right? Because like there's like you're saying like you're like I don't know how to like parse this situation exactly, but it's like, okay, you're saying like you like to help people, and like that really is like there's so many times when like you go to a show and like it's a band that people don't know or whatever. That doesn't mean that like nobody likes this band, but
Yeah,
nobody's
exactly.
like taking the pictures. Nobody's saying like, I saw this cool band. And then on the other hand, you got instances where a band is like bigger or whatever, and there's this whole thing where it's like people are mad because there's so many photographers, right?
Yes.
And so it's like,
especially right now.
yeah, that's the part where I was saying it's like this is a situation that's really hard to like parse or like to like, but it's like I almost just it's just like okay, we don't need more pictures of Turnstile. They're good. You know, like they're good on that. Like
They're fine. They got them.
yeah, take pictures of 40 foot to go or 40 feet to go, or take pictures of
Right.
like, you know, the band that like has 80 Instagram followers, you know, or whatever. Like,
Right. No, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and because it
I mean,
really is
it's
like it's huge to just be like, you know, oh, people took pictures and they posted them, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I know how good it feels when someone goes out of their way to take pictures of my band, especially when we were smaller. And I know I never took that for granted, even before I was taking photos. I just felt like I was like, they went out of their way to take pictures of us, and we were a fucking nothing band. Like that feeling was always so good. I was like, if I can give anyone a tenth of the way I felt about it, I would love to do that.
yeah,
You know, the Turnstile bit is funny because it's like, yeah, don't take take pictures of Turnstile 15 years ago when they were a nothing band.
right,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
They're good now. They're fine. They don't need
Yeah, they're good.
they
Like
they
they're
toured
literally
Blink-182,
paying
they're
somebody to do
fine.
that at this point, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Elton John knows who Turnstile is. They're okay.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's wild. It's just like and it's not even about. It's like, you know, it's like when you see like a band like that just had these huge reunion shows or whatever, and they're like, did anybody take pictures at these shows? And you're like, what? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
y'all didn't get tagged in pictures, like, but then there's the discourse happening about like, you know, people need to stop bringing their cameras to show, like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
situation.
we don't need more photographers. We need more drummers.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No,
yeah.
yeah.
It
I
would
mean,
be good if you're both, right? I mean, I'm not a photographer,
right, exactly.
though,
I can do
but-
both. It's great.
Yeah.
I think the discourse around photography, especially at hardcore shows, especially because hardcore is having its moment right now in terms of like breaking into mass appeal. You don't get a band like Turnstile nominated for the Grammys and stuff like that without, like, what's the saying? It's a rising tide lifts all boats. And so Turnstile and bands like them and Code Orange and stuff who really kind of broke through the mainstream. So now you have hardcore at arguably its most commercially successful ever. Good thing or bad thing, I'm not here to argue. I'm just saying that that's kind of the fact.
Yeah,
and so
no.
you know, and so like a lot of these, especially these newer kids, they see this on TikTok. Again, it's not a judgment. I found out through MySpace, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
How you find it is not the point. But they see this and they see all these photographers and they're like, oh, I can do that. And it's like, yes, you can, but also we don't need 12 photographers at this show.
Yeah. Go to a different one.
We're good
Do
with
it at a
2.
different one.
Go to a different show.
Yeah.
Like, just enjoy yourself at this one. It's okay. And also, I mean, I've had this conversation a lot with a lot of local photographers, especially newer ones. It's like, people are not here to see you take photos.
Right.
Get the fuck out of their way.
Yeah.
like, I take photos a ton. I know that like I can be in people's way sometimes, but I go out, I try really, really hard to like be basically a fly on a wall. Like, I don't want to distract the band. I don't want to distract the crowd. I don't want to get anyone's way. And it's like, yes, maybe I don't get the best photos like that because of that, but I would much rather someone not have a miserable experience of me firing a flash in their face 300 times than me get a perfect photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm almost always trying to keep off to the side, duck down, or maybe like, if I'm going to use a flash, only use it on the first couple songs and then stop using it because like it's really fucking annoying when someone is taking a camera and they're just flashing in your face as a musician, like performer, and as a crowd member. It's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, it's like, you know, everything is a case by case thing, and but it's like, yeah, there's, you know, something that you're saying, which is like the key thing, I think, to me is just like, there's a part of every art form where you can get to where you're taking people out of the experience by doing X, Y, or Z, you know? And
Absolutely.
that's what you're saying. You're like, you know, like when when what you're trying to accomplish becomes a thing that is detrimental to the art that you're trying to capture, that's when
Right.
it can be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't realize that it's happening, or they
Yeah.
do, and they're just assholes. I don't know, whatever.
I think there can be like a situation where as much as like the as much as people can be there to like you know, create their art, which is photography, like sometimes there's like oh, if I get this kind of shot, that's gonna blow up, you know, or whatever
Right.
kind of
Oh
thing
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, you know, everything has to have its place. You know, we gotta like everybody has to try to respect each other and like and just try to do the best that they can do without like taking the whole thing and like you said, like making it about like what you're doing, you know. But
Absolutely. I was just want to like one more quick thing about, it's like with hardcore specifically, it's like one of my favorite things about hardcore and hardcore adjacent music is the line between, I've said this a million times to my friends, the line between the performers and the crowd is non-existent
mm-hmm.
in the hardcore, like if you're at the right, like if you're at quote real hardcore shows end quote, like you're as part of you being on the stage is welcome. It's they want you there, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they want you to take the mic, and they want you to like, and it's absolutely like, it's the same thing. It's like we like they want the photographers there, but it's like there's a line there, in the same way that no one would want you to take the mic for an entire song.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
you know what I
Which
mean?
does happen,
No one want,
you know? Yeah.
which does happen, but it's like, I'm not here to see you sing. I'm not saying you can't do a little bit,
Yeah.
but like, no one wants to see you sing. They want to see him sing. And it's like, you can take the mic and be a part of the band for a second, and I can get in and take the photo and be right in the front for a second, but get the fuck out of the way, because ultimately it's not about you. It's about everything.
Yeah.
So you need to let people get what they came for as well. I think that's really the big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And like it's such an like all of this is such a wild reflection on just like the time we live in, where like you can just like instantly take a picture and put it up like right away, and
Right,
immediately
totally.
the people who are in the photograph can see it, as well as anyone who else happens to be in the photograph. And it's
Yeah.
like it's such a wild time to be in. We're getting sort of to the end of the conversation here. Like, I try to keep
Sure.
these at about an hour. So I wanted to go back to Sandcrawler specifically and
Okay.
your new EP. So it's called Unsafe House, or is it Unsafe Houses? I wrote it down and I can't remember.
Unsafe house, singular.
Okay. I thought so. Because I almost said it wrong before, and then so I was really
all
getting in
good.
my head here. So y'all had your first EP in 2024, and now this is the new one. I can't remember like how many songs are we getting. I know it's coming January 26th, and there's
It's gonna
cassette
be
pre-orders.
yeah, it's gonna be 5 songs.
5 songs. Okay,
Yeah.
and
It's not a full length, but it is, so it's an EP.
right, but for a band like y'all, what's 5 songs translate to? 20 minutes, or are there some of these on the shorter
I
end, or?
there's a couple on the shorter end, there's a couple on the longer end. So I mean, truly, like, I would say it's probably about 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
If I had to guess off the top of my head, I would say an average of 3 minutes a song,
Oh,
just
okay.
because some of them are slower and longer. But then we have one song that's 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's really
Okay.
just yeah,
Averaging out. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And how would you say, like, if there was any progression or like expectations that y'all had when you were going from the first EP to this one. Like, what can people expect? Like, if they've already heard y'all and they're like, oh, okay, like what's coming now?
Well, so the history of the band is a very interesting one, and I won't go into it too much because that's a whole nother podcast that I literally just did last week. The band got interviewed on a podcast called At Least There's Fest. It's basically this guy is interviewing a ton of bands that played the fest or whatever,
Oh, okay.
and like so it was specifically about Sandcrawler, and so I went to the whole history. So go listen to that if you want to hear the whole history, but. The band existed for a long time under a different name. We formed originally in 2020. Then the pandemic happened. We actually formed to play one show with a band called Frail Body, who I'm sure you've heard of. They were coming through Gainesville. I really wanted to play with them. And then it really was put on standby for a really long time because me and Rob, the other main member, we treated it as like a side project. But cut to last year, and kind of all of our other bands are kind of falling apart, and so we decided to focus on Sandcrawler, and we recruited the other two members, Tony and Will. Will had kind of played with us a couple times in different things, but he came on as vocals. Tony came on as bass. Tony is an amazing a bass player who's been in a ton of other bands. And anyways, so we bring them on, but the first EP was really just kind of songs that me and Rob wrote that then Tony and Will learned. And so this EP is really, it's the majority, like the four of us wrote these songs together. It's a more collaborative, and I think it really more like defines who we are as a band. They're heavier. There's a couple songs that are a little doomier because Tony and Rob really felt like they love the doom side of, like, the doom sludge side of stuff. But there's also like a couple more like hardcore parts that I brought in, like a two step in the middle of one song. But anyways, it's just to me, the difference between the last record and this one is it feels more cohesive, and it feels more like all these songs were kind of created at the same time. The last record kind of feels a little all over the place to me. I love it. I love those songs, but they were kind of written over the course of like 4 years. We had originally written like 5 songs. We kind of turned that into those 3 songs. So for fans who do like the previous record, it does still sound like the same band. I just think it's a little bit more like, if you liked us because we were aggressive, it's a little bit more aggressive. And I mean that truly. If you liked us because we had these kind of post-hardcore elements, there's a little bit more of that. If you liked us because we have this groove feeling, there's more of that. It's just like we really just locked in on the things we really like and ran with it. And that's why we were able to do the 5 songs. It was originally supposed to come out earlier this year. We've been working on it for a while, but life gets in the way and blah, 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 blah. But we really wanted to make sure it sounded incredible, and it does. And so that's why it's coming out right at the beginning of the year. But like I alluded to earlier in the this episode, we're already writing new stuff. We're gonna most likely have more new stuff before the end of the year as well. So very excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a big year for you.
I'm
Yeah,
stoked.
and you said it's going to be out January 9th, but people can
January 9th. Yeah.
yeah, people can pick it up already if and there's a single out, right?
There is not a single out. There's just
Okay. I
we were
thought there
just
was a
doing
single, but I
some
went
teasing.
yeah, I went looking and I was like, maybe I just don't know like where.
No,
you know?
honestly, life got in the way, and I think we might have accidentally said we were going to have a single like publicly, but like it didn't happen. So the whole record drops on the 9th. We have a record release show on the 10th with some really good friends of ours called Tiny Silver Hammers from Jacksonville. That band absolutely rules, and you should check them out if you're into anything that remotely sounds like Sandcrawler. They crush. So
Awesome. Well, there's always the opportunity for you to give me a sample of something from the new EP, and I'll play it right at the top. But
I mean, I definitely wouldn't. I got the files.
you've got them. You've got them. Awesome. Well, like I said, I do try to keep these about an hour, and that's where we're
Yeah.
at. But if there's anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to put out there real quick, we can certainly do that.
I mean, really, when I was coming on, or when you asked me to come on the episode, which again, thank you so much. This has been really fun. I love doing podcasts. I used to do my own because everyone does.
Yeah,
Me and my friend Jeff.
we talked
Me and
about
my
that
friend Jeff.
before. Converge
Yeah,
albums or
yeah.
something like that? Yeah.
It was all Death Wish records.
Oh, Death
It was
Wish.
a Death
Okay.
Wish. It was in chronological release, and we got like 60 something episodes in, and then we got too busy, so we
Yeah.
couldn't do anymore. But it was fun. Like I got to interview Dwid from Integrity. Like that was super cool. But anyways, when you asked me to come on, I like re-listened to a couple episodes just to make sure. I was like, okay, let me make sure what the podcast format is and blah 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 blah. But I just wanted to say that I'm super appreciative of being on here and you allowing the platform for me to talk to you about just anything. Like we had some really wonderful discussions, but really to sum everything up, I think like I just want to leave people with a message, which is like truly like I haven't put any thought into this, so I'm going to kind of stumble over this, but like I said something along the lines of this earlier. It's like you just got to try shit. You gotta make bad art. You gotta be just like really obnoxious and learn and do things, and then like in order to get somewhere like that you will be proud of. And when I was young, like I said, I just was convinced I would never do anything band wise because I was like, you're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. Like truly, you'll just be behind the scenes. And I love being behind the scenes, but like, something clicked in my brain and I just truly was like, you just have to try it. You just got to try it. And if you like it, who's to tell you that it's even bad if it's something that you enjoy? And I think it's so important, especially in this shit ass world that we live in right now, that people like be creative and they put art out into the world because like it's I think it's more important than ever with the rise of fascism happening at our doorstep and AI about to take all of everybody's jobs and put us into further destitution, that one of the core things that makes us human is our ability to create. And it doesn't have to be good and it never has to be good, but it's super important and truly completely changed and probably saved my life. And it's just super important. And I'm glad that you have a podcast like this where you get to talk to people about why they do what they do and why creativity matters and why art matters. It's very inspiring to hear a lot of the people talk about everything and about like what they're doing and why they're doing it. It definitely, some of the stuff I've heard in this podcast and other podcasts, it helps keep me going. So if I could just give that to anyone listening to this, even a little bit, that's a success in my book.
And that was my conversation with Jeremy McGuire. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all of y'all for listening wherever you are as well. Don't forget to stop by patreon.com/humanmachine to support the show, read zines, do all that stuff, and more. Until next time, take care and do good things.